Hiya roomies, my name is Aran and welcome to my first ever video game review. But before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to Kim, who has very kindly given me the chance to do my own reviews. And so I thought for my first review, I would actually like to cover Spider-Man that came out this September. Well, what do I have to say about the game? Honestly, I think it's great. I mean, there are many fine points in this game. I mean, what can you expect from a game that's from Insomniac Games? A great company that, as we all know, made some really good classics, from Spyro to Ratchet and Clank. They may not have made as many great games over the years, but with Spider-Man, I think this is a true comeback. And the first point I'd like to cover is the graphics. The graphics are very well done. I have no problems with them whatsoever. They are very high detailed and I have not come across any glitches or lagging. The whole game runs very smoothly, as smoothly as you could want it. The detail is incredible, from something like a lamppost to a skyscraper to the character models themselves. Everything is done well and with almost a sense of realism in them, which is handy for the gameplay, and the gameplay is also very good. Uh, from swinging through the city to combat, the swinging through the city is very exciting, very fast, and it's just a joy just to swing about and seeing all the fantastic landmarks. The game has included many Easter egg locations, from the Avengers Tower to Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorium to Jessica Jones's Alias investigations. So feel free to explore the city and find all these amazing locations. And of course, getting there is very similar to older Spider-Man games, such as the Amazing Spider-Man games and even the older, more classic games like Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 2. For example, swinging through the city is very good, but on the older games, you couldn't really interact much with the buildings in terms of travelling. You could stick to the buildings, crawl up and down them, but that was more or less it. Whereas on this game, it allows you to run alongside buildings, dive off them dramatically, web zip your way through the small gaps, web zip through underwater towers, dive onto the edge of the ledges and then dive off dramatically, getting to your locations a lot faster and with a lot more style and more of a freer flowing sort of motion, which makes the game feel more fun, makes you feel more like Spider-Man. But one of the best parts has to be the combat. The combat is a great lot of fun. It's similar to older Spider-Man games where an enemy attacks you, you should react out the way and counter-attack. But this time, the combat is much more free-flowing, a lot faster, and you can do a lot. The movements themselves feel a lot more Spider-Man-like, more acrobatic, diving out the way, flipping over, and even if you do a perfect dodge, you can even web them in the face, and then use a variety of multiple gadgets and extra abilities you can gain from leveling up. So really, the combat is evolved more from the Spider-Man games and more close along the lines of the Batman Arkham games, which has always had an excellent combat system. And one of the better parts, I think, is that one of the new combat systems is the stealth approach, which again feels similar to the Batman Arkham games, where you can get yourself onto higher ledges, platforms, avoid the line of sight of your enemies, and take them down in very good stealth attacks. Which to me gives the game more of a personal choice of how you would like to complete it. I personally have always preferred stealth, so I tend to go for a more stealthy approach. And on this one, you could take down enemies stealthily, you could pull them up onto the platforms or ledges you're dangling from, web them up there. You could even use your simple web attacks as simple distractions to lure enemies away. And it makes you feel that the overall result is a lot more satisfying. And all this great gameplay actually ties into the story. Now, for a lot of superhero games, the story can either be a bit drag, a bit dull, a bit predictable. And whereas this game actually has a very engaging, very entertaining story. I mean, for a lot of it, you play as Peter Parker, but then there are actually instances where you can actually play as other characters. For example, Mary Jane Watson and Miles Morales. I won't go into too much detail as I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But the story is has a good decent length. You could sink a few hours into it easily. And the story does very well in tackling themes such as pain, loss, abandonment of hope, and people's desires to keep fighting for what's right. The game itself ends on what I would say is a bittersweet conclusion. Yes, the game has moments where it can actually be very sad and it can even make you feel a little bit. But it does end in a way where I feel like they could easily make it into a trilogy and also reinstates the hope that may have been lost. And the bad guys, well, the big bads of the story are very good, very interesting. You have a lot of the classic villains from the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery, such as the Sinister Six, Doctor Octopus, Mister Negative, and so on. But the part I liked is their character redesigns, and I think they are excellent redesigns. You can clearly see who they are from the past, but they're redesigned and reimagined in a more modern, more realistic way that you would actually think they should look like. But the game does a very good job at not forgetting its roots and where it's come from. It does this in the form of its many, many Easter eggs. One of the best ways to view these Easter eggs is actually to collect Peter Parker's backpacks, which he has lost throughout the city because this is 8 years later that the story is set. And as such, Peter has, over the years, had to quickly hide his backpack with his clothes in different parts of the city and has subsequently forgot about them. It's one of the more fun parts of a side quest is to collect the backpacks because you find ancient Easter egg items, and if you click on them, he'll give a description. Ultimately, they may not be the most important thing, but it is still very entertaining to view these Easter eggs. And there are various other Easter eggs throughout the game, and of course, we can't forget that there is a very good Stan Lee cameo. But the game isn't only just about the story. It also features a variety of side quests, they may not be the most difficult to complete, but they are very good, very interesting, and worthwhile doing. I mean, you have missions for the Taskmaster, doing missions for Harry Osborn, and just doing a variety of other side quests that are scattered throughout the city. And yes, they have kept the random crimes that pop up throughout the city, like they did on Spider-Man 2. However, this time around, the game actually gives you a very great incentive for doing these side quests. It gives you rewards in the form of tokens, and there are a variety of different tokens, for example, crime tokens, base tokens, research tokens, and so on. And these tokens do actually have a very good purpose. For example, the part I find one of my personal favourite parts of the game is the fact that every few levels or so that you level up, you actually unlock a new Spider-Man suit. Well, should I say you unlock the right to buy these Spider-Man suits, and that's where these tokens come in. Each suit costs something different. For example, you can get a classic Spider-Man suit that can require 6 crime tokens and 1 base token. And each suit actually comes with its own unique ability or skill, which can drastically alter your gameplay, and it's worthwhile collecting all the suits and all their abilities just to find the playstyle that would suit you the most, from offense to defense to stealth, if you would like. But the tokens also have more purpose than that. They, in fact, can actually be used to buy suit mods. And the suit mods are, well, as you can imagine, they alter your suit in different ways. They could either, well, I won't give you too many spoilers, but they could make you more bulletproof, more melee proof. They could make your fists more electrically charged. There's a great deal of things that you could do with these tokens and the mods. And also with the ability you get with each suit, you can take it off and combine it with other suits. So really, you should design it to how you would like and how you would like to play the game. Now, if I had to give the game any negative points, that's difficult because the game is, as I've said, is very good, but I do have one small gripe, and it's that apart from the main big bad characters, the rest of the major supervillains aren't really in the game for that long. I mean, for most of them, you'll see them in a couple of cutscenes and you'll do a boss battle with them. But then that's really it. You don't see about them again. You may occasionally hear about them, but that's about it. And as a hardcore Spider-Man fan, I find that a bit of a wasted potential, really, as I would love to have seen more of criminals such as the Rhino or Electro Vulture just have more of a purpose in the game. And it's not just the other characters that you don't get to see enough of. For example, even though you do missions for Harry Osborn and even the Black Cat, they can even leave you recordings, and like the Black Cat, she will even ring you from time to time. But sadly, you never actually see her, which I think I would love to have seen more. I'm fully aware that future DLCs are coming out, and the first one is about Black Cat. So I bear that in mind. So, how would I rate this game overall? Well, I would personally give the game a 4.1 out of 5. The game is fantastic. It's very good. It's a game that you could play as a casual player who just wants a good experience that doesn't know a lot about the Spider-Man mythos or even cares about comic books. But if you're a hardcore comic book fan, you would also love it. Well, that's all I have time for this video. I hope your roomies have a good night.